Welcome back to the channel. So here we are, and again, another night on the 06. This thing is absolutely doing flawlessly for the last month or so. I've been driving it here and there, and I'm going to be doing a review of all the parts on it, but that's not what this video is about. This one is about hacking our nice carbon fiber hood to add these super awesome heat extractors. These are from Track Spec, and they are a GT2 spec heat extractor, which is a racing series. If you go to Spectral Racing, I will put the video in the description below, but he has this exact same heat extractor set up on his car, and he shows almost a 20-degree heat reduction in the underhood temps when he added these. So we're going to copy and do the same thing. Let's get to it. So these are our heat extractors or hood extractors, and again, they're from Track Spec. These are supposed to be here in the middle, 17 inches from the front of the hood back to the front of this scoop, and then these ones obviously are going to be parallel. You're going to measure in between here, and you're going to set those so obviously you don't have one like this or something crazy. Now, that seems pretty easy, but you only have one opportunity to cut a hood, and this being carbon, I really don't want to screw it up. So I've had a couple nights out here now. I've been staring at it, trying to figure out where I want them front to back, and do I want to bring them out a little bit further where the Track Spec calls for a 1-inch gap here? Do I want to bring them out a little bit more so I have 2 inches in there? Or what is the exact look that I want? I think I've come up with the exact thing or the exact look that I'm going for, and it's a little bit different than what they suggest. Okay, so here we are looking under hood now, and we can get a little bit better of an idea of what I'm talking about. So from the front of the grille here, the hood sticks about 1 inch further forward. So if I was to measure from the front of the grille back 16 inches, which plus that 1 inch of the hood will give me the 17 Track Spec wants, that only brings me to about here. And that's still 2 to 2.5 inches or so of this degas bottle where I'm not going to be pulling air from. Now, not only will that not look the greatest in my opinion, from when you look on the outside of the car, you're going to be looking in at the top of this degas bottle. I want to be able to pull as much air as I can from this hollow area from the front of the supercharger to the back of the fan shroud. I want to suck as much air out of this area as I can. Not only that, when you put the side extractors on those triangles, I want to have it over top this valve cover, again, as much as I can, so any air coming in that goes around the engine will get sucked out of those and continue out of the way. Same thing on this side. Anything that comes in here around the inside of this air box is going to get pulled out before it hits the firewall and makes a whole bunch of positive air pressure. So instead of going at 17 inches where they recommend, I'm going to push it back a little bit further so that I'm just behind this degas bottle, and that gives me a bunch more area here where when that air, or wind if you want to consider it like that, when that starts coming up like this in between the front of the engine and back here, it's going to suck out much more because we're going to be back just a little bit further. All right, one quick thing before we get going any further. Shout out to the channel sponsors. We got Tough Duck, the hat, the shirt. I usually have their bibs and their boots and everything on. Tonight it's super hot here, so I'm in shorts and sandals. But hey, I normally rock all of their stuff, and they have awesome COVID masks. So face mask, if you got to go into any stores or whatever with the way the world is, that's the place you want to get them. Tough Duck. Also, I want to give a shout out to P2M Phase 2 Motortrend. They are the ones who we got all the rear suspension stuff from, and the outer tie rods on the front for this car. Absolutely love the products. We'll go over that on the month review of having the car out on the road, but I can't tell you how much I love that stuff. We also want to give a shout out to Dynamic Laser. Dynamic Laser always sets us up with anything that we need cut, and it's always, you know, within a couple hours or whatever. So they did the splitter on the front, they did the brackets to mount the splitter. They've done a ton of stuff for us on this car and every one of our other projects, including this shop. So shout out to those guys, love them. Thank you so much for everything. And to anybody else, we have hats, shirts, and a ton of stuff that we have that you can buy to help support the channel. There's links in the description below to Teespring and a bunch of other things, our Patreon page and everything. All of the money that this channel makes goes back into it. I don't take a penny. I don't, you know, I'm not looking to get rich off of it, but hey, if it helps bring back a little bit, it helps me make more content and better content for you guys. So, enough of all that, let's get down to laying some tape.
So we're getting ready to lay the tape out, and as you can see, I just measure up quickly from the front of the hood so I know where to start, and then just start laying strips all the way across. Now I did realize pretty quickly that the last 7 or so inches wasn't going to be used on each side, so it's just kind of a waste of material. So I started going up just the center of the hood, and I want to make sure that I'm doing enough to where we're going to get all the way back. Those heat extractors are pretty long, so you can see I go pretty far up the hood here. Ended up being that it was, you know, plenty far enough, but better safe than sorry. So now with the tape all laid out, what we're going to do is measure from the front of the hood, and then I want to go side to side to get the exact center at that mark, and that'll give me a place to start laying down these templates. The templates come when you buy the extractors, and what you need to do is pop out these little sections where you're going to trace them, and that's going to be your cut line, and then the outside of the template is the overlap. So I just took an X-Acto knife and I ran around. You can see all those little slits there. That's my cut line, the little pieces that I was pulling out. And basically what I want to do is lay this thing in the center of the hood, you know, left to right, obviously, and then starting at the mark that I made, going backward. Now, as you can see, that center extractor is on an angle front and back. So I lay my tape measure piece down the front, and that'll give me the proper line that the two side extractors should start on. And then what I'm doing is measuring between the cut lines on the two templates, and that's going to give me the proper spacing left to right so that they're not splayed outward or inward, or a different way of saying it, it would just be so that they're not pointed outward or inward. Now I did end up tweaking that distance in between them and also the position on the hood compared to what they say to do in the kit, and I guess that's you know, use at your own discretion type thing. Now I'm ready to start marking where we're going to cut, and as you can see, the template just had a little bit of a bubble to it, so just quickly pop the tape and adjust that. Again, measuring twice so that I only have to cut once. I only have one shot at this, so I want to make sure it's a good one. I did end up tracing the outside just in case I need to put the template back down and line it up just to ease in that. And then what I'm going to do is take a razor blade and just cut my little tape so I can peel these things off. So I just got this oscillating tool here off of Amazon, and this is the steel blade that came with it. So we're not exactly cutting steel, but the wood blade just looked a lot more coarse, and I didn't want to try that. I figured I'd start with this and see how it went. So cutting through the carbon with it wasn't super hard, but first time using the tool, I wasn't sure how much pressure to put on or anything like that. So this thing did take me quite a while to end up cutting, and we run into a problem here where the hood's a lot more thick than I thought it was. I'll bring up a piece here and show you in a second. So trying to cut through the center sections now. As you can see, both sides are already done. And now I'm starting to get the hang of this thing and you know, how much pressure I can put into it and just where I need to be for the corners to line up. So the half circle cutting wheel or disc or whatever you want to call it here makes it a little hard to get to a perfect 90-degree corner, but I did manage to use the back side of it and get, you know, pretty close enough that I could pop it off. So that ended up working out pretty well, and I would recommend this method to anybody cutting carbon in the future. Now we're just going to peel the tape off and get a first look at what this thing looks like with and without the vents in.
Alright, so I finally got the nerve to cut it, and I think it looks incredible. Now these are going to pull down like this once we rivet it on. And what they want you to do is pop rivet through this to the carbon or the steel hood, and then you put a washer on the bottom, but we're not going to do that. My plan is to now flip the hood over and make a template of everything that we have, and I want to make one piece on the bottom that's going to go from this outside edge all the way around, back up here, around, and then back. And what my plan is I can sandwich the carbon hood between these upper plates and this lower plate. Now, I didn't realize, if I take this out of the way, how thick this hood is. You can see that there's carbon and then some corrugated, I don't know if it's cardboard or what, and then carbon on the bottom again. So I'm going to need a really long rivet or maybe some small button head cap screws. So those are the ones with the little Allen key. They just have like the rounded top. But that's the plan now. So what I'm going to do is flip it over, start making the template that I need so I can laser cut out this bottom piece, and that is going to give us, hopefully, the mirror image of this on the bottom. But again, this is going to be filled in. It's going to be one piece in there. And then once that's done, I'm going to take the hood, I'm going to sand it, I'm going to take it out and get it clear coated and polished so that you get rid of some of this haze that it has. But also the clear coat will help seal this edge so the carbon doesn't want to peel or, you know, strand off or whatever you want to call it. So that's the plan. Alright, so that's as far as we're going to go with it on this video. Like I said, I'm going to flip it over, I'm going to make a template of it. All I'm going to do is take cardboard and I'm going to trace out the holes that we cut here, 1, 2, and 3. And I can add the outer dimension of what I need based off the template we use to mark these holes. So that's how I'm going to end up coming up with the bottom template for the sheet metal. And then, like I said, I'm going to take it out to the body shop. We'll get it sanded, clear coated, polished, and then we'll come back and we'll install them. I'll probably just do that on Instagram or something. We're just going to be throwing some pop rivets through or whatever.